Explore Chick is an all-women's tour company whose goal is to empower women through outdoor adventure and travel. We provide exciting itineraries to global destinations, a supportive adventure-loving community, uncommon experiences, and of course, our signature shenanigans. We love spending time in outdoor spaces and want to do what we can to preserve and protect these special places that inspire us and feel like home. To celebrate Earth Week, we hosted a TikTok live conversation with Carissa, co-founder of the Conservationist Collective. She is a marine conservationist, climate activist, and famous TikToker who uses media to help educate and inspire people to take action for our planet.
Hi.
Cool. Hey.
How's it going? It's nice to meet you.
Good. Nice to meet you too. And you are in Hawaii right now. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm tuning in right now today from the island of Maui in Hawaii.
Okay, nice. Is that where your home base is as of now?
I'm based off of Oahu, which is the island next door. It's a lot more populous. But I wasn't born here. I was born in Arizona. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you tuning in from?
I'm in from Florida today.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. The other coast.
Yeah, we're quite far.
Same, different oceans, but same coastal living.
Yeah. Near the water.
Exactly. Well, thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm glad this worked out. It wasn't too hard getting in.
No, it was easy. They made it user-friendly. Go TikTok.
Yeah, right? Points for TikTok. Awesome. Yeah, so we just wanted to chat because we are Explore Chick. We are an all-women's adventure travel company, and our women love the outdoors, and we want to bring education to them and just keep on inspiring people to protect these beautiful spaces. And I fell in love with your TikTok account and have been following for a bit. And I just thought that you'd be a fun guest to bring on and just chat with about sustainability and travel and what we all can do.
Oh, that's awesome. That's like my favorite thing to hear. But also, I think I love watching these new, like I guess businesses or communities come up where it's encouraging people to get outside and to travel and to experience nature because it's something that if you weren't necessarily encouraged to do, like by your family growing up, you maybe didn't have access to, but we can all in adulthood like prioritize it. So I love that you bring women together from all different areas to adventure together.
Yeah, magic happens when women get together outside and push themselves, and yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah, what do you have
Did you
coming
grow up
up? Any Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We have all sorts of trips all around the world and the US, national parks, hiking trips. I think this weekend, I'm just looking at my calendar, we're in Belize right now. We have a Smoky Mountains trip. And then next week we have a Moab trip. Yeah.
Wow, is year round. That's so exciting. Oh my gosh,
round.
I'd love to come one day.
Yeah. We have stuff all over year round, nonstop. It's an exciting place.
Ugh, cool. Yeah, no, I think nowadays, like people our age and younger are really trying to prioritize like ecotourism and more sustainable travel. So I'm happy we're able to have this conversation like on Earth Week of all weeks.
Yeah, it's fitting. And you said that you grew up in Arizona. Did you have a lot of exposure to the outdoors growing up?
I would say that not like disproportionately. Like my family honestly wasn't a huge outdoorsy family. But I was always like a kid who was like playing in creeks and playing outside and playing in trees and stuff growing up. I feel like I'm at the age where I was maybe like one of the last age groups to really have that full, completely outdoor childhood. And I think that really shaped me into why I love being outside now. And I was also fortunate enough to have like experiences where I got to play in the ocean because in Arizona, we were really close to Mexico and to California. And so to be able to go to both growing up and get comfortable in the water and comfortable swimming and comfortable snorkeling when I was, a preteen or a teenager was, I also think, really impressionable for me.
Yeah. Do you have any like really fond memories that stick out from being in the water as a kid?
I think I just remember like one of my first times swimming in the open water, like in the ocean, being surrounded by fish. I think it was in Mexico, and just like realizing how many living things were under there. And, you know, I had only been used to like pools, and I
Right.
just didn't, I kind of thought it was similar, but just to really see the full ecosystem was super. I remember that really clearly from my childhood, and I think snorkeling is a really fun way for kids to build confidence, and even for like if you're intimidated by the ocean, like snorkeling in shallow water off the coast is a really easy like way to get your feet wet, literally.
Yeah, literally. That's so cool that you have such a like a vivid memory from being a kid and just
Yeah, it's just fish. I think it wasn't anything crazy, but it was really beautiful. I remember.
were you nervous at all or did you just feel at home in the water?
I think like nerves are definitely part of it, but I had been a strong swimmer, and I think that can be the scariest part of the ocean for people is, you know, changing conditions and swells and waves, and so being able, it only comes with I think time and practice and knowing your limits, but then also being able to like explore more. So I would say, yeah, I definitely still get nervous in the ocean sometimes, but I was in a pretty protected area back then.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like huge confidence just being able to swim and getting out there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think it's really important that we have like access to um, green spaces and things like that growing up. It's really important.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's yeah, so important. And then from like growing up and in Arizona and then falling in love with the oceans of Mexico and California, what drew you to marine biology?
I think because I knew I wanted to work with animals. Like I've always loved animals. I like whether it was pet animals or farm animals or anything. I watched movies and nature documentaries and all these things, and I always had like really fond memories in the ocean. And since I had grown up in a landlocked state like Arizona, it always remained really special to me. Like I don't think I ever got to a point where I took the ocean for granted because it was always something I had to do. It was always a little inconvenient to get to or something I had to plan around. And when I thought about like working with animals, I immediately thought of like sea turtles and dolphins and whales, and I think that's what initially drew me there. But definitely because I was inspired by the experiences I'd had in the ocean growing up.
Yeah, and a love for animals.
Yeah, I also was fortunate. Like my dad is a really big. He really prioritizes travel, and so I had the privilege of seeing places nearby, even if they were like just Mexico, but even traveling internationally like that when I was a preteen or a teenager with him.
Yeah, that's huge. And especially at a young age, like knowing that there's so much more out there as a kid, like exposure to travel.
Yeah, I think it really made me more not like empathetic, but like more confident and like really liking to talk to people who have different backgrounds than me. Because I mean, that's what travel is like you get exposed to people who have completely different lifestyles and different places of the world. And I think that's really stayed with me and was like a shaped part of my personality growing up.
Yeah, that's so cool that you had the opportunity so young. I love that.
I know. My dad always talks about how like his parents never brought him, and so when he had kids he was like, I'm bringing you guys even if it's inconvenient and horrible. And so we would do less trips, but then they would always be family friendly and stuff like that. But I always think about uh what I don't know if I would be where I was if I didn't have those opportunities.
Yeah, go dad. That's awesome.
I know. Shout out Steve right
Yeah.
now. Like
Very cool. Where did you go as a kid? Where was
I think, you know, it was we drove to Mexico a lot. Road trips were always really accessible. We went to and that was like beach, like Rocky Point snorkeling. But if we did go to California, like he would always try to we would have a beach day. We would have a like a family friendly hike or outdoor walks or things like that. And you know, we didn't grow up going to a lot of national parks, but we did go to like the Grand Canyon in Arizona, and now as an adult, it's a priority of mine to go to a lot of the national parks because I didn't. They haven't been checked off the list yet. But I also remember going out of the country for the first time when I was maybe like 15 years old, and seeing Europe and like, but from the protection, my family is from Ecuador, and so I also had a we went to Europe and then we also went to South America. So seeing the contrast, but then also connecting with past family members that were in Ecuador too, was like one of the best. Different languages were really hard for me, but also really opening up my eyes to other cultures. So I have really fond memories, like as a kid in Ecuador, and then like as a preteen in Europe.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it was totally huge. And like now I find myself like wanting to go places that I normally aren't talked about with travel, because there's so much left to discover, things like that. And with the rise of like travel being such a priority for our generation, I feel like tourism and things like that can be so valuable as like ways to give back too. We see that a lot in Hawaii.
Yeah, completely agree. That's you brought up like our generation has such a higher priority on travel, and I feel that for sure. Just around like conversations with my parents and grandparents about like what I'm prioritizing to do versus what they were prioritizing to do, kind of thing.
I know sometimes I'm like, you got to choose. It's like own a house or go on a bunch of trips.
Right. I feel
but our generation's way more likely to choose the trips.
Yeah, I agree. What you said you were kind of craving the off the beaten path places. Do you have somewhere on your list like that you're thinking about?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd had like a really long international trip plan that got messed up from COVID, as like I'm sure all of us did. But I really,
Right.
really want to spend quality time in the Philippines, and I think it's been on my list for a really long time, and I hope I find an opportunity there soon to go to that part of the world, because I think it's beautiful and it's tropical and it's different and it's small, and I think it'll be like familiar but also very unique. So I'm excited. Specifically, Surigao is the place I want to go.
Okay. Wow, that sounds amazing. I'm sending you all the good positivity that happens.
Yeah, what's on your list?
Ooh, man, I've done a bit of Asia, but I would love to go down to Central and South America. I haven't been. It's up on my list, just everywhere. But I guess if I had to narrow it down, I would love to see Mexico. Just, I mean, it's such a huge country, and I mean, there's so much there. So,
oh my gosh, I've heard like you can never stop exploring Mexico. It's because it's so huge and there's so much to see. But yeah, South America is beautiful too. I just got back from Chile like last week, and it was one of the, I would have never gone there otherwise. Like I don't think it would have ever made like the top of my list, but it was so beautiful, and I'm so happy that I was able to go.
Oh wow, what brought you to Chile?
It was a work job, like some conservation field work that I was doing in the area with a company, and it was a very isolated island, like 800 people.
Oh, wow.
And we got to stay for a long time, like 4 weeks, and I really got to know everybody and immerse myself. And it's hard to have that type of experience if you're only going somewhere for a week, right? So definitely like one of the best experiences of my 20s for sure.
That's awesome. Is that the longest you've stayed somewhere while traveling?
No, I studied abroad in the Galapagos when I was studying marine biology, and I was there for like 8 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you? What's the longest? I want to do a long one.
Yeah, I was working in South Korea for 1 year. I was teaching English there, so that's the longest. But that was for like a job. Other than that, I did van life for a little bit. So I stayed in like the state of Utah for like a month and a half, and that was nice to like really kind of like have a little bit of a community while still traveling, but like hunkering down for a bit.
Yeah, we just bought a micro van, and we're starting the entire build out process. So who knows? Maybe we'll end up in a similar situation.
That's awesome. Wow. Yeah, I could talk about that forever. But you mentioned the Galapagos.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah, of course. The Galapagos is. Have you been?
No, but we have a trip there.
When are you guys going?
We are going. Shoot, I would have to look at our calendar. It's in a couple months, I think.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say like end of summer, or for the Northern Hemisphere, end of summer, and fall is like the best time to go. So I went to the Galapagos as part of a study abroad because for those who are biology focused, that's like where Charles Darwin discovered the theory of evolution. And I just knew it was going to be worthwhile. And, you know, when you're studying abroad, there's only like so many options. But when I went with a really small group of students. We were maybe like 14 of us and the professors. And we stayed for 8 weeks and did like a 6 credit class. So it was like a lot of work, but we went to multiple islands. We went to Santa Cruz, and you take boats in between the islands. And it was truly one of the most memorable experiences of my life because of how much the wildlife is not used to human beings. And so they will come right up to you. They're not scared of you. They aren't really habituated to having people around. And so it almost feels like you're in like an interactive zoo the entire time you're there, because you have to be very cautious of your limbs and not touching them and not disturbing them, because they will just come right up to you. And yeah, it was beautiful. And it was also really, really fascinating to see the types of living things that are there that are found nowhere else in the world. So like Galapagos is known for like their marine iguanas. There's iguanas that have evolved to swim, and they eat algae off the rocks in the coast. And so they're like everywhere, and it can be kind of freaky if you're scared of iguanas, but I just thought they were cute. And yeah, it's very dramatic landscapes. And I'm not sure what excursions you guys have lined up at the Explorer Chick, but the opportunity to scuba dive there is like once in a lifetime. So I would highly recommend that based off my experience.
Wow. That what you described sounds like, now the Galapagos is high on my list to go check out. That like untouched feeling of, like you just said, them, like the animals not knowing you.
Knowing.
Right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. And like, it was so, like I said, it was like going back in time. And that's kind of how I felt in the island that I was just living in Chile. Like it was like going back in time, which is refreshing in a lot of ways. And also the Galapagos is completely protected. It's a protected national park. And so there's all these environmental and sustainable measures that are already in place to make sure that if you're going to visit, you aren't extracting anything from the ecosystem. And I really value that as far as an ecotourism model. They're doing it right there.
Yeah. Have you seen anything like that anywhere else in your travels?
Oh yeah, I actually work. So I work in an initiative in Hawaii to help, you know, green our tourism. We have some tourism challenges here, which is irresponsible behavior. And I think that in the Galapagos, they have it's almost like a green fee, where when you land in the airport, you pay a fee that goes back to the national park. And we're trying to implement something similar to this in Hawaii. And it's very, very common, like all over the world at visitor destinations. Like the kind of the gold standard of it is Palau has their dive destination for scuba diving. And when you land, you pay a fee that gives back to the marine park, and you sign a pledge to commit to respectful to be a respectful tourist while you're there. And it was, I also think that there's different forms of it in other areas of the world, like in the Mentawais, in Venice, Italy. And the Galapagos National Park is one too. So I have seen it, but now I'm working on helping to recreate that model in different areas of the world.
That's amazing.
I think it's like the future, right? Because all of us care about giving back. So it's like an easy way to just be like, okay, I'm helping to fund a project here. And that's what they have in the Galapagos too.
It feels good. It's not like you're encouraged to do it and you want to do it. Like when there's something like that in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. That's awesome work. Was the work that you were doing in the Galapagos, like the study, was it for ecotourism, or what were you studying?
No, so I was in college at the time. I was a junior in college. It was the summer between, and it was a marine conservation course. So what we were really doing was taking a class where we went to understand the ecosystem there and the species and learn about everything through a course. And then we also did some field work while we were there too. So that looked like, you know, developing a research project, answering a question. So mine was about the marine iguanas, which is why I think I like them now. I was trying to, they actually, They're reptiles, but they snort. And so they snort to get seawater out of their nose. And I was looking at like their snorting intervals based on how big they were, how small they were. Because some of them were like as small as like a few hands, but others were huge that you didn't want to get. Some of them looked like closely to Godzilla. Others were like very tiny. So it was just we basically just designed a research project, and we were students, so it wasn't very developed, but it was all part of the course that I took through my university.
Okay, that sounds so fascinating. Yeah, just studying such a wild animal in such a wild place. That's an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, I remember other groups did, like they have some sea lions there that are specific to the Galapagos. So another group studied the sea lions, another group studied some seabirds, and there's so many different types of wildlife there to learn about that if you're someone who likes birding, or if you like wildlife, or if you like diving, it's definitely should be on the list.
That's awesome. For sure. What so you were in college and you were studying and working there, like for your research project. What was your day like in the Galapagos?
So it changed a lot because there's a handful of different islands that make up the Galapagos National Park. And so we would stay at an island for maybe like 4 to 8 days. And a lot of it was like taking courses. We had an X amount of hours per week of classes that were led by the professor who was leading the group, or we would go to like an excursion, I guess. Like, so once we went to like a museum, or once we went to go see like the Galapagos tortoise and learn about it from the naturalists there, because since the Galapagos is a national park, you need to have like a naturalist guide take you on hikes or to see animals. It has to be guided, which is a way to preserve the ecosystem. And so a lot of it was hearing presentations from them, or hearing input from people who maybe ran the museum or ran snorkel tours or things like that. So it was definitely more focused on biology and ecology rather than ecotourism.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
that's so cool. Learning from like the experts and having that opportunity to like learn right in like out of the classroom and like in the field too.
Right. And those are the types of experiences I think that really shape students to pursuing like field work, because there's so many field work opportunities in conservation and environmental science that you really just need to be able to get your feet wet with some small experiences like that. And that doesn't have to look like spending all summer in the Galapagos. It could look like going to your national park, or going to a nearby coastal area and volunteering and things like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. It can be pretty accessible if you like seek it out.
Yeah, you can meet nature wherever it is. It can just be in your neighborhood. So I think that's really exciting about what's happening with this next wave of careers, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And now you're in Hawaii. What are you doing in Hawaii right now?
Yeah, so I came out to Hawaii to get my graduate degree in marine science, and I never left, which is very common for students here who are studying marine bio, because we obviously have a beautiful ocean. And so I worked with nonprofits for a handful of years, and now I work under my own company, the Conservationist Collective, which is a media company that aims to educate and empower communities to take action and get involved in conservation and climate solutions. And a lot of that was stemmed from, with the pandemic, all of us being home, there was such a potential to reach more people with media. And now I think that's here to stay, which is exciting. And we're building like a global community over there. And now we get to start getting creative about what types of in-person events we want to be affiliated with it, now that things are a little bit more open nowadays.
That's super exciting. So it started in the midst of the pandemic, right?
Yeah, it did. Right at the beginning, actually. November of 2020 is when we founded it.
Okay. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's like
what's
wow. There's been some good things that have happened through the pandemic. So I'm just thinking like, what if the pandemic didn't happen and you didn't have that opportunity? Like that's such an amazing thing to come out of that. And yeah, I've been following you guys.
I feel like I call them COVID companies, like how many people started companies during COVID, because it was very common. Like we were all put in a position where we started reevaluating what was important to us and the type of work we wanted to do, and also, where we wanted to go, and with that being taken away. And so, I know, I think I would have I hope that I would have ended up here regardless, but maybe it would have taken a little slower. I feel like it definitely kicked me into gear to reevaluate and start something a little bigger. And the fact that we can do things like this and like have this conversation virtually is also like a huge plus, I think, from from spending more time on our phones after COVID. We get to build relationships across the country.
Right. All of the internet communities that have kind of formed, and you with like Eco Talk and bringing awareness to such a huge audience.
Oh yeah, I love that. They're like friends they're friends forever. We became friends in the pandemic as a result of this, and now Eco Talk is a collective, and we all support each other and all this work. And I never thought of myself as someone who would have like internet friend groups, but now I have like 1 million. So it's been nice.
Yeah, that's a really cool way that you get to like just spread the message on like through a megaphone, having your TikTok platform.
Yeah, and to talk about like how travel can be ways to give back and ways to, reduce waste, and just those things that all of us are passionate about, that maybe I see a lot of conversations sometimes talking about how like sustainability and travel can't necessarily mesh, but I really believe that they can. And I think that there's a lot of really good ways to do it. And I'm excited that those conversations are being centered more.
Yeah. We love you for that. Thanks for putting all that out there.
Oh yeah, of course. I love that you guys are bringing women together. I feel like all you need is a friend group, right? It's kind of scary to go travel alone, but you just need a friend group to go with who cares about the same stuff as you. And it's really cool to see places like the Explorer Chick create that space for people.
Yeah, totally. What tips would you give around travel and sustainability? What ways that we might not think about it can those two kind of coincide?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that as a traveler, like during the actual act of traveling, you can make certain individual choices, like using less waste when you're on the plane, making sure you have snacks prepped, not using, the meals are so wasteful. I could go on about that. But then you can also carbon offset your flights. But then we're also seeing like on the corporate and sustainability level, like having airlines use more biofuels instead of oil-based fuels in their planes. And I think that that's going to take off dramatically between now and 2030 with our net zero commitments. And so that's the actual act of traveling. And if you're in somewhere like Europe, you can easily take a train, and it's more fun and more adventurous than taking a plane. You can opt for those public transportation where it's accessible if you're in a place where it is. And then when it comes to actually the actions that you're doing, countries like New Zealand make it really easy to support like sustainably certified tour operators, but we're seeing that stuff pop up in other ways too. So like I said, Palau and the Galapagos have green fees, whereas, the place I went in Chile, like I found a way to volunteer with the community there. And to be honest, a lot of that falls on us to do that research before and to make that a priority activity that we want to do there, until tourism authorities from the place start creating those opportunities for guests, which is what we see happening in Hawaii, right? So we want to be able to volunteer with local groups, or do a beach cleanup, or have opportunities for excursions that give back. And I would say if you're doing like one or a few of those, like that's a great bar, I think, to set for yourself. And I don't think we should all have the responsibility of us, because travel is also about connecting and building relationships, but just like if you're a traveler who finds yourself hanging out like in resorts most of the time, like go outside your comfort zone and try to support local businesses and local excursions in a way that's meaningful.
Those are really good points.
Hi, Lexi.
I didn't even. Oh, someone say hello. Yeah.
Yeah, she did. My friend joined.
Oh, cool. Hello. Welcome. Thank you. But yeah, those are all really good points.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys probably have that consideration as well when you're planning trips. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple different like fully eco lodges, I think down in the Dominican Republic or Belize, we have an eco lodge that's like fully off grid, very sustainable. And even with like the excursions that we book as well, looking for local people to support is top priority.
Yeah. Me and actually my friend who's in the chat, we ended up staying at an off-grid eco lodge in Mexico, and it was so beautiful because they got to show us all the ways that they made it off-grid. And also you can look, like when you're booking your accommodations, like you can message them and chat them and say, look, like, oh, is this like a local family? Like, is the money staying in this local economy, or is it going to like a huge conglomerate that maybe is outside the country or the region or something like that? So all of those things I think add up to make a huge difference when it comes to traveling.
Yeah. And like just keeping it, like you said, like as local as you can too. And even like eating local, so your food's not getting like shipped in from everywhere. And yeah.
And even if you're like not necessarily as adventurous with your taste buds, but trying the local food and going to get food trucks instead of the hotel restaurant, things like that are all little actions we can all take, and they make it more exciting, right? Because then you're immersing yourself more in the place you're visiting, which is what it's all about.
Right. Going somewhere that like out of the resort or out of where you maybe were planning and seeing something new.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what travel's all about.
Yeah, it is. And I had a question for you guys. With your trips that you offer, do you find that you have people who are looking for longer trips or shorter trips, and do you kind of book every day and build an itinerary, or is it kind of loose? What's that like?
Yeah, so the trips are around, I mean, we have some weekend stuff, like weekend backpacking trips, maybe like 4 days in Utah. We have a lot of working professionals, so you can only take off a week or so. A lot of our international trips are around 8 days, so we have like 8 days in Iceland or 8 days, to some of our destinations. Those are the longer trips, and that gives our women at least a month to, I mean, not a month, a week to like really immerse themselves and see a lot over the time that they have.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's a good balance of both.
Yeah.
Someone's saying Acadia National Park. I'm not sure where that is.
That is in Maine.
Oh, wonderful. I'm trying to explore the East Coast more as a loose priority.
So we have a question, and I was going to ask this towards the end now. What does your collective, how does your collective spread the word and educate conservation?
Oh, but Nikki, thank you for asking.
Nikki's the founder of Explore Chick, by the way.
Oh, well, hi, Nikki. Thanks for having this conversation with us. The Conservationist Collective mainly uses media. So that looks like social media. That looks like short films. We have a podcast. It's called Sustainability in the Sea. And then we also will host like events and workshops that are also virtual. So you can tune in from wherever you are in your time zone. A lot of it is meant to inspire people to get involved in conservation, no matter what their background is or skill set. And because we firmly believe at the Conservationist Collective that really everyone has a role to play, and that it's up to us to find our place in being part of the solution. And so a lot of this ends up looking like accessible media, and a lot of that these days looks like social media. But we have some films that have been released in the past that you guys can find on our website. And you can also tune in to follow us on Instagram or on TikTok to stay in the know about upcoming projects. We have some fun stuff planned for World Oceans Day in June.
Cool. What kind of stuff is coming up for you guys? World Oceans Day?
Yeah, so it's Earth Week. So happy Earth Week, everybody. Earth Day's on Friday, so I hope everyone's getting out there. But World Oceans Day is in June. And what we're doing is we're hosting a panel of guest speakers that work in different areas of marine conservation. And there is actually going to be one panel that's focused on sustainable tourism and how that can help the ocean. And we're going to have speakers come from different backgrounds and just kind of host a few different discussions that people can tune into, like in a webinar style format. Cool. So information like that can be found on our Instagram, the Conservationist Collective, or on our website to register tickets. We're making it really accessible price point. It's undecided right now, but it's definitely going to be $10 or less.
Cool. And is it in person as well as virtual, or just virtual?
It's just going to be virtual. A lot of our communities spread across the US, North America, and in other countries. So we just it'll be a purely virtual event.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So I guess how can people support you through the website or just by following you guys on TikTok and Instagram?
Yeah, we're not a nonprofit, and so we actually don't want any donations. We just want you guys to get involved and to follow our accounts if you want to learn. And we really just want conservation and environmental topics and issues to become more commonplace and for you guys to get educated and inspired. And so if you want to support the Conservationist Collective, I think the best thing that anyone listening can do is to just share it with a friend and start talking about the planet more with your friends and family, and maybe start doing more things outside, and reconnecting with nature, because that's really what's gonna, I think, help us all as we deal with climate change and all the challenges we have ahead of us. So I would appreciate if anybody wants to learn more about the ocean or sustainability. We talk about individual and systemic solutions. Just follow us on any social media channels.
Yeah, that's awesome. We will share you with our community as well on our.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate you hosting the conversation, Emily. It's been awesome. I love what you guys are doing.
Same to you. Same to you guys. And I think I'm just going to ask if anyone has any last minute questions. If you have a couple more minutes, is that okay?
Yeah, of course. If anyone has questions about anything we talked about or anything we didn't talk about, just put them in the chat. And excited to get more people encouraged to travel, I think, especially now that it's becoming more available.
Yeah, we're excited about that as well.
Yeah, I bet. And I love it. Yeah.
Sorry. You go ahead.
Oh, no. What? Let's see what they say. They said, did you connect with the Explorer Chick trips?
Yeah, with Galapagos. We haven't connected before, but I know you probably have some TikToks about Galapagos and some exciting stuff we could watch before the trips.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I also might be going this year with my family to see family in Quito, but I'm unsure. We might be there at the same time, which would be really cool. But if anyone wants to learn more about the Galapagos, I have a few videos that show those animals we were talking about, and the iguanas and the sea lions. So feel free to check them out.
Cool. And then what were you going to say? We cut you off.
What was I going to say? I don't remember. Oh, I think I was going to say, do you have concurrent trips? Do you find that women are, you have multiple trips or throughout the year, or is it kind of a lot of it centered around shorter, I guess, bigger trips?
So we have a variety of trips, and a lot of them are repeating trips. They'll happen multiple times in the year, and that's based off of popularity of a trip too. We have a couple of different our Utah trips, very popular, so we have those happening all throughout the year. Iceland is very popular. We just added another date to that trip. We've got some new trips this year. We're going to go to Slovenia and Croatia. Oh. So we're in Uganda too is a new one. So yeah, always opening up new trips. Always thinking ahead, but we have some that are really consistent and top sellers.
Yeah, for sure. I think Utah is one of the best places to go. It's very close to Arizona, so I've had the opportunity to see the slot canyons there, and they're gorgeous.
Yeah, we do some slot canyon hiking on our trips, and it's amazing. Just blows your mind every time.
Yeah, it's how the way they were formed, and they were formed by water, and that's just that's so amazing. I think we have a last question. Do you mentor other young ladies starting college in marine biology? That is such a great question. So one of the events that we hosted last year was actually a workshop for young women, aspiring marine biologists, women only. It was called the Women Wave Makers Workshop, and I'm hoping to do more of those. If we get a company to sponsor it, to make it free, because that's the ultimate thing that we want to be able to do, is to make it all accessible. So I offer tips on my TikTok too, and we also have a lot of resources on the Conservationist Collective blog about frequently asked questions about marine biology and tips for students and programs to prioritize. And I'll spoil it now. The main tip is to just get involved early and join an organization and start doing fun things and build friends in the space and spend time outside and in the water. And that's how you get your feet wet with the field.
Thanks for answering that question.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for allowing me. But yeah, I hope everyone has a great Earth Week.
Yeah, thanks again for joining us. And if anyone is interested in learning more about Explore, check our link is on our bio of our TikTok, so you can see all of our trips and learn all about us there.
Yay! Yeah, I know. I hope we end up on a trip together one day.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thanks again, Carissa, so much for
Yeah, bye,
spending
Emily,
your
and everyone at
afternoon with
Explorer
us.
Chick. Thanks again.
Thanks. All right. Bye. Thanks, Carissa, for joining us to celebrate Earth Week, and thanks to everyone else who joined too. You can follow Carissa on her TikTok at Carissa and Climate, and you can learn more about her influential work at theconservationistcollective.org.